fallen.
Welcome back to the ITV Evening News. The headlines: Slobodan Milosevic has been charged with crimes against humanity. But the main story here is that Manchester United have returned home to a triumphant hero's welcome. Sophie Reese-Jones has appeared in public in the wake of the furore over the topless photograph of her published in a newspaper yesterday. Ms. Reese-Jones was at a friend's wedding in London today. This morning, The Sun printed a full-page apology for releasing the picture. Here's our royal correspondent, Nicholas Owen.
Sophie! Photographers appealing for a picture. She did turn a little reluctantly towards the cameras this afternoon. Sophie Reese-Jones couldn't have been looking forward to this public episode very much. The Sun newspaper apologised today for publishing a picture of her topless, then announced any profits made from distributing the photo to others would go to charities chosen by Sophie. The wedding was in fashionable Chelsea. A little unfortunately, some guests arrived in a taxi adorned with the picture of Cara Noble. She was the DJ sacked yesterday after selling the famous picture. A Rolls-Royce brought the bride. Considerable interest in her too, because Samantha Shaw's a fashion designer responsible for the dress Miss Reese-Jones will wear when she marries Prince Edward next month. Another guest gave every appearance of wanting to avoid the limelight: Camilla Parker-Bowles, the Prince of Wales's companion. After the service, a chance to see the dress of the day, perhaps for clues to what Sophie will wear. Today's style was chic but simple, notably lacking in frills. Miss Reese-Jones drove away, accompanied everywhere nowadays by a police bodyguard. Sophie Reese-Jones knew that in the run-up to her own wedding on June the 19th, there would be great interest in her. The publication of that photograph yesterday obviously turned today's event into a grueling one for her. In Wales, meanwhile, signs that the royal family hasn't fallen out entirely with the media. Prince Charles suggested the photographers were looking for topless sheep. Proof indeed that yesterday's fuss was on everyone's mind. Nicholas Owen, ITN.
Railtrack has announced pre-tax profits of £428 million. That's about £1.2 million every day. The company, which owns all Britain's tracks and most stations, insists it needs to make huge sums to reinvest in improved services. But passenger pressure groups claim rail travellers will be feeling totally ripped off. ITN's Chris Choi reports.
Railtrack admits it's responsible for nearly half train delays. In future, travellers have the frustration of knowing every minute they're delayed. Railtrack is clocking up another £900, and rail users were enraged.
Passengers actually don't want to know the detail. All they want is a passably reasonable service at an affordable fare on a railway that is safe and tolerably comfortable. That's not too much to ask.
Richard Branson rode into town today, firing from the hip. He was launching a new bus and rail service, but warned Railtrack he'll hold them responsible for delivering on promises to upgrade tracks.
If they deliver that, we'll be extremely happy with them, and we won't mind what sort of profits they make. If they don't, I personally will go around to Railtrack.
The firm says improvements are underway, but today government warned against excessive profits. A new rail watchdog will soon ensure it's not just the investors that get a first-class service from Railtrack.
We are the only company in the UK that is actually spending almost 4 times of the amount of their profit on investment. And we need to continue to earn those level of profits to ensure that the bankers continue to lend us the money so that we can actually carry out that investment.
Railtrack says it's investing in the rail network like never before, but critics say this truly is an embarrassment of riches, putting profits before passengers. Chris Joy, ITN, Euston Station.
2 Indian fighter jets have been shot down near Kashmir. Pakistan says it opened fire on the jets because they were invading its airspace. India's called the attack hostile and provocative. It marks an alarming escalation in the bitter conflict over Kashmir. Here's our Asia correspondent, Tom Bradby.
Indian jets and helicopter gunships were in the skies over Kashmir again today, hitting positions the Indians claim have been occupied by Pakistani troops. 2 planes came down, shot down, the Pakistanis said, after violating their territory. The Indians insisted one had suffered mechanical failure, the other had been hit by a missile whilst trying to locate the downed pilot. They said they were not attacking Pakistani Kashmir.
The IAF has launched further air attacks against those who have transgressed into our territory, into Indian territory. And these are a continuation of the attacks which started yesterday.
The political and military leadership of Pakistan have been saying time and time again that if the Indians enter into any adventurism, they'll find us ready. And of course, they found us ready, and we shot down both the aircraft.
The two sides have fought two wars over Kashmir, and it remains the principal bloc on better relations. But both countries are now nuclear powers, and diplomats have today been urging restraint. Tom Bradley, ITN, Hong Kong.
The Scottish National Party launched its campaign for the European elections today, claiming that the government had marginalised Scotland in Europe. Speaking at the campaign launch in Edinburgh, the SNP leader, Alex Salmond, said Scotland's future was in the mainstream of modern Europe. Voting in the European elections takes place on the 10th of June. A shadow has been cast over the future of cloning. The scientists have discovered that their prized sheep, Dolly, has accelerated signs of genetic aging. Her body is almost 3 years old, but her chromosomes are showing wear and tear characteristic of a much older sheep. Here's Andrea Catherwood.
Is Dolly the sheep mutton dressed as lamb? That's the controversy surrounding today's findings. They show at almost 3 years old she looks young and fit, but the genetic material inside her cells appears to be much older. Even the scientists who created her don't know if that means she'll die young.
There is a possibility that as these changes continue in the cells that she will have a shorter life, but we don't think so.
In Dolly, as in all of us, our genetic makeup is held in chromosomes in each of the cells in our bodies. They have special ends called telomeres, which naturally get shorter as we get older until they disappear and the cell dies. In a normal sheep Dolly's age, they're 24 units long, but in Dolly, they're only 19 units long. They're probably inherited from the 6-year-old sheep she was cloned from. This potential flaw in Dolly's genetic makeup means more concern over the future of human cloning.
You have to remember that human cloning hasn't happened and probably never will happen. But if it did happen, it might be that if a 60-year-old, let's say, was to clone himself for reasons of arrogance or being unable to do it any other way, then maybe he'd have a young baby, but possibly that baby would have old genes and would last less long than otherwise it might.
The more realistic application of cloning techniques for humans is the possibility of cloning human tissue and organs for use in transplants. Scientists say today's findings don't rule that out for the future, but they could mean it's important to use young donors. Andrea Catherwood, ITN, Central London.
Now with details of what's on ITV's Tonight programme with Trevor McDonald. Here is Trevor in the Tonight studio.
Thank you, Dermot. Tonight we have exclusive details of the newspaper sting that brought down the England rugby captain. How far will the tabloids go to destroy a career? On the trail of the car thieves, how criminals have taken up cloning to pass off stolen motors. A new campaign to reduce the number of deaths from house fires, how one simple device can save hundreds of lives. And the kids waiting for a home, the failings in the adoption system. That's all at 10 o'clock tonight. Now it's back to you, Dermot.
Thanks, Trevor, and tonight is on ITV at 10 o'clock. Throughout the programme, we've had a taste of the jubilant celebrations now going on in honour of Manchester United's Barcelona triumph. With the Premiership and the FA and European Cups safely in the trophy cabinet, their supremacy must surely now be undisputed. John Draper looks back at their history and examines the Manchester United recipe for success.